This is a story of beginnings. It's about an unusual relationship between the state of Montana and the Kyrgyz Republic, two landlocked and relatively isolated mountainous jurisdictions on opposite sides of planet Earth. The National Guard State Partnership Program is linking the Big Sky state in the middle of North America with Kyrgyzstan, a newly independent country in the heart of Central Asia. Kyrgyzstan is about the size of South Dakota, but it has a population of nearly 5 million people, mostly ethnic Kyrgyz, but also containing sizable minority groups including Russians and various peoples of Asiatic, Turkic, and European origin. The 40 rays of light emanating from the central sun on the national flag represent the original 40 tribes that first constituted the Kyrgyz nation. The Great Silk Road is renowned for having connected diverse civilizations in centuries past. Kyrgyzstan is in essence a crossroads of empires large and small, old and new. The history of this part of Central Asia is the stuff of legend, and the Kyrgyz have stories and myths that rival anything we associate with Lewis and Clark and the Corps of Discovery. Kyrgyzstan's capital city is home to over 800,000 people, nearly as many as in the whole state of Montana. The traffic in Billings and Missoula are no match for bustling Bishkek. The city's skyline is dominated by the towering 15,000-foot peaks of the Alatu Range and the Tian Shan Mountains. They're a lot like the Northern Rockies, on steroids. Montana and Kyrgyzstan are in many ways worlds apart, and yet we share a rural heritage and a spirit of independence that is worthy of cultivation. Narin is a small city in the mountains south of Bishkek, on a section of the old Silk Road that still leads to China. Narin is a place that for us Montanans is both exotic and familiar. For the next little while, we will take you from Montana to Bishkek, Narin, and beyond, exploring as we go the practical wonders of a partnership on the move. High above Narin, very near the old Silk Road, the scent of clear mountain air and the alpine scenery yield a heartfelt recognition that Montanans and Kyrgyz share a reverence for nature and an affinity for high altitudes. We are joined by the rigors and rewards of geosympathy.
We were wondering, why the connection works so well between Montana National Guard and Kyrgyz. And he said, well, it's climate, it's mountains, it's a society here that does a lot of raising of sheep and cattle. Got a lot of horses. And it's interesting, if you look, I think it's 12 time zones away, so it's about as far away as you can get, and yet you got all these connections.
There's a lot in common.
There really is a lot in common, and strong, as you know, strong family values here.
Let's get the horses. On a recent road trip to Narin, Professor Kevin Nielsen from Carroll College in Helena had several opportunities to revel in rural family values and expressions of geosympathy.
Come on, get over here. You're the important one.
You should do the first one.
The state partnership is a showcase for the conduct of international relations by citizen soldiers as well as state, local, and non-governmental entities. Montana's civilian contingent of doctors, nurses, teachers, translators, trainers, and law enforcement personnel are para-diplomats on a humanitarian adventure, serving their state and country while at the same time fulfilling personal goals.
Пропуск всюду, да?
In Montana, it's admissible kind of coin everywhere, wherever you go. Да, конечно.
Yeah, it's like a key to the city.
Да, это как ключ к городу.
Обязательно захвачу это.
I will take it myself.
The state partnership program is designed in part to implement the National Guard's mission to demonstrate military subordination to civilian authority. Major General Gene Prendergast is in charge of the Montana National Guard.
I found out about this program at the national level about 94, 95, and I was very interested in it because it was the bridge to America, and it was also adding value to America. And the real bottom line of the program is promoting peace throughout the world. What they wanted to do, there's no militia concept in the former Soviet bloc countries. And we thought with the Partnership for Peace we could explain to them how the citizen soldiers and what the citizen soldiers do for their people to support them. And when we went over there and explained the militia concept, they were very, very inquisitive about how it works. They actually asked me, you mean there's people that work downtown as doctors, lawyers, gas station attendants, grocery clerks that actually belong to the Army and actually help? And I said, yes, that's how the program works. We're citizen soldiers.
The Montana State Partnership Program is the most active state partnership program in the program, in the Partnership for Peace program. We've done more, we've had more missions, we've accomplished more, I think we've made more friends than the other states that are involved in that program. Rick Bridwell has done a phenomenal job. Everyone involved with the Partnership for Peace program knows Rick. If they don't know him, they know of him. And he's going to keep pushing and making it larger and larger. It's a wonderful thing, and it's exciting, very educational.
At the firing range at Fort Harrison in Helena, Kyrgyz soldiers wearing borrowed uniforms are instructed on the use of American weapons, from black powder rifles to the M16. The emphasis is on safety.
The big one is for nighttime. Protected mat. Running target, protected mat.
Значит, вы вот там вот на один раз тоже поворачиваете. Ну, с оружием идти вдоль, так сказать, ваше оружие должно быть, ствол должен быть направлен в какой-то квадрат.
Let's do it.
Давайте.
They've all got their rocks.
What you should roughly be seeing in your mind and through your sight picture. This is your target. These are your sights. This is the center post. That sight right there. And some of you, depending on your vision of your eye, might actually see the rear sight circle around it. I guess it's more like this. Does that make sense to everybody? Because if we don't have the sight picture down, you could go through 2,000 rounds and not even hit the piece of paper. Tip of the front sight should be center mass. Yep, center of the object, whatever it is.
One thing I'd like to add that
obviously isn't an issue here because you guys know as much about shooting as we do. But normally when we start out with new troops, we'll take them and we won't even allow them to have bullets until they've mastered breath control and trigger control.
Вы, конечно, все это знаете, мы проводим подготовку, как будто вы были молодыми солдатами. С ними мы еще делаем то, что мы им не даем вообще патронов, пока не научились нам правильно дыхать, правильно держать оружие. До тех пор мы им не раздаем патронов вообще.
And the way we do that is we'll put them in a supported position and we'll balance a washer or a quarter on the barrel. And when they can pull the trigger and have the bolt or the hammer fall without knocking the washer off, then we figure they're good enough that they're not going to be wasting a lot of
это
ammo.
проверяется таким способом. Со ствола с конца, вернее на конец ствола кладем монету, и пока он не сможет выстрелить, без того, чтобы монета упала,
I put that on the barrel, man.
Ready, I love my job. Монета осталась.
But you guys already know those kind of techniques. You've all shot weapons before.
What's this?
Give me that quarter back. That's my per diem for the day, for crying out loud.
Keep you safe, Hawk.
Ready on the right?
Ready.
Ready on the left? Firing line is now ready. This is stuff they probably don't need to catch.
Not very many years ago, this sort of sharing would have been unthinkable. These soldiers from Central Asia would have been on the front lines, taking aim at American and other NATO defenders if the Cold War had ever gone ballistic.
You need the construction being done differently on the right-left. If the group was to the left of the target, they need to go right.
We had talked early at the beginning of this program that today would be a day for you all to exchange information with us. One of the things that we'd like here this morning is we'll sit there in your chairs, the headphones on, and you describe the threat to your nation and how you all are training to meet that threat.
Человек 50. То есть очень длинная цель, поэтому с авиацией можно спокойно бомбить. Поэтому они работают обычно мелкими группами по 5-6.
Kyrgyz Republic has really been one of those frontline states. Its southern border is only about 130 miles from Afghanistan, and they themselves have suffered from several invasions by the Islamic movement of Uzbekistan. So they're no strangers to terrorism, and it has become an important part of our security posture here. As you know, there are 2,000 coalition forces at Gansi Air Base that conduct both combat and support missions into Afghanistan. Half of those troops out there are U.S. There's 12 Marine F-18s, 6 Mirage fighters, and then a lot of C-130s and tankers and things like that from Spain and Australia, Netherlands, Norway. The head of the National Guard here for the country, which is a significant element in the security posture of the Kyrgyz Republic, just got back from Montana, and he has had a lot of contact and has done a lot of work. And this just makes such a difference, so that when we, for example, were going into Afghanistan and we needed the space, what you did in the previous 4 years made it much, much easier for the Kyrgyz to say yes. And it also, even more importantly, made the whole process of engagement and setting up that base much, much smoother, because they were used to dealing with us and they knew what we were about, because the National Guard from Montana and the military here had been conducting joint exercises. So it just makes a difference.
There are moments when the military-to-military relationship reveals a heart-to-heart understanding about the importance of peace among nations, and about how that peace is achieved in part by the spiritual kinship of battle-tested warriors.
Becoming the member of our movement, Organization of Afghan Veterans, I'd like to give you a little gift.
Это штык карабина СКС.
This is a knife of the machine gun.
Это трофей с афганской войны.
This is a knife which I have from the Afghan war.
Я думаю, вы, принимая вас, и надеюсь, что вы будете достойным членом нашего движения.
And accepting you to our movement, I know that you're gonna be a very honorable member of our movement.
Разрешите вручить вам.
Let me give you that.
Thank you very much, General. It truly is an honor, especially as one old combat veteran to another old combat veteran. When a soldier is wounded or killed in combat, they're presented with a Purple Heart. And this Purple Heart was presented to me in a hospital bed in Pleiku, Vietnam. And I would like to have you hang this someplace as a symbol of that ultimate price that veterans pay, and why we need veterans organizations to fight for the benefits of our veterans. Спасибо. It was a pleasure, General. Thank you very much.
Чтобы этого наши дети, внуки и правнуки никогда не
So
видели.
I'd like to say that what you experience and what I experience, do not wish to experience the same to our children.
Пускай будет мир во всем мире.
Let the peace be in the whole planet.
О войне наши дети, внуки, правнуки узнают по нашим рассказам и читают, пускай, в книгах, и
And
смотрят
let our
фильмы.
children know about the war just in the books and from our stories.
Пусть будет мир.
So let the peace come.
Thank you very much, General.
Спасибо большое.
Old soldiers make the best statesmen.
Старые солдаты делают самые лучшие заявления.
And then, of course, as we submit that letter from you to...
Civilian groups who participate in the partnership program are routinely supplied with security briefings both at home and in Kyrgyzstan. These little seminars are both instructive and comforting.
Every one of us is a potential terrorist target.
Sir, they'll get more cooperation out of the embassy once we're there, and they'll have support there as well. And I believe, sir, you want Maul to Velcro himself to Colonel Willing, is that right, since you're not going?
Yes, and you won't have to worry about running.
Fat Boys is just about every foreigner's favorite meeting place in Bishkek. Not far from the city's central square and seat of government, this pub and diner serves as Montana's informal consulate.
Any transport you're going to take that are not done through Jim, which I think you guys are all covered with transportation, so these are the only ones that we say are really, really reliable and safe. So those are the only ones that I would be taking if I were you. Also, whenever you're leaving or getting dropped off someplace, make sure your transportation is directly in front of you where you're leaving, and the place you're getting dropped off at is directly in front of you. You should have line of sight. You know, none of this walking around corners being dropped off a block away. Bad idea. It's amazing how many bad things can happen in a short time period, in a short distance.
Dr. Tom Traban is president of Carroll College in Helena. He and Professor Kevin Nielsen are undertaking explorations of how Carroll faculty and students can establish ongoing exchanges with institutions of higher education in Narin and Bishkek. Dr. Traban and his counterparts from the university system in Montana can serve vital roles in Kyrgyzstan's further development of civil society. At Shirley Baker's home in Helena, Montana, local residents help Kyrgyz soldiers to feel comfortable and welcome. These kinds of informal gatherings are a way for civilians to reciprocate the provision of security that soldiers from both countries offer our non-military delegations.
Tell me what this means.
Этот узор имеет символ? The design goes forward. That's right, like that. That's right.
Oh, yeah!
Montana and Kyrgyzstan are both in hot pursuit of economic development, something that always requires energy resources. We can offer expertise in the technical means of providing electricity in rural areas. At a small village about 20 miles outside Narin, a team of Montanans took time to observe a handmade hydropower unit and learn about the difficulties of keeping the lights on in places that freeze over completely for several months every winter.
One specialist has been sent here. So when they bought all this stuff, he just built it and went away. And there's one guy who's responsible for maintaining 15 families in this village. Four kilometers away there is a China power lines which goes to the park, and the project was to bring these power lines to here.
In Narin, the mayor took state partnership manager Rick Bridwell on a tour of the city's water supply system.
Oh, but where does the water come from to get here? Is it from the mountains or is it from the river?
The Kyrgyz are justly proud of their alpine sources of drinking water and concerned about the quality of their irrigation systems. Downstream on the Narin River, Kevin Nielsen investigated a problem with pumps.
Там в головном сооружении надо дамбу строить, перегораживающую, чтобы постоянно сюда вода попадала.
Upstream, a large hydroelectric facility feeds power into a regional grid. Like Montana, Kyrgyzstan is a headwater state. Water is abundant, fast-flowing, and both a promising and renewable source of power. Harnessing water power and managing water resources for year-round public benefit is a challenge we will face together in the years ahead. Montanans and Kyrgyz also share the challenge of leveraging a valuable natural resource in political and economic circumstances where downstream states are vastly more populous and powerful. Both Montana and Kyrgyzstan seek solace and support in the rule of law. Healthcare services are another vital component of civilian-to-civilian exchanges. Dr. Lionel Tapia from Billings and Dr. Dwight Heasterman from Helena have both volunteered their expertise to medical staff in Kyrgyz hospitals, and they have both also treated patients. Montana nurses have shared a variety of skills and experiences with caregivers in Kyrgyzstan. They have also brought valuable medical supplies donated by Montana hospitals and associations. The pace of work is always brisk, sometimes frenetic, often frustrating. Montana's medical professionals are not alone in wishing they had more time to counsel, observe, and assist their Kyrgyz colleagues.
You've been a very attentive audience. And then you do a straight down motion.
Sammy Butler from Helena and Kate Steenberg from Missoula form a strong team to provide hands-on CPR training for Kyrgyz nurses in clinics and hospitals in Bishkek and Narin.
Excellent. 3, 4, 5. Hit it.
Dr. John Klochek is a clinical psychologist from the University of Montana. He is advising the Kyrgyz military on the treatment of post-traumatic stress disorder and working with psychiatric faculty and physicians on a variety of related research topics.
Something that I'm very interested in, since much of my work as a psychologist has been in medical settings.
The medical teams work long and hard, but they always find time for simple acts of kindness. The law enforcement agencies in Kyrgyzstan face many challenges and freely admit their desire for better training and equipment. Great Falls police officers Jack Allen and Dave Bowen are bearing witness to and assisting the Kyrgyz efforts to improve their policies and procedures. The Montana cops are also learning about the role of special quasi-military police called Spetsnaz, who are sometimes called upon to quell political as well as domestic violence. While the police presence in Kyrgyz communities seems pervasive, there are no outward signs of repression or fear among the people.
Checked one guy's trunk out. So then I had to ask him whatever they want. I had to ask him about the PC. He said they have to have suspicion that there's something in there. So then I asked him, well, what made him suspect that there was something in there? And he was head on. Yeah. I said, well, did it look heavy when it was coming over the road? But he was pulling, I mean, just left and right.
They say
checking
bike or not?
No. In fact, one guy he couldn't pay the fine, so he took his license. He goes, gave him the ticket, it was 10 som, took his license, said you come back within 24 hours, I keep your license.
It's not a bad idea.
20 minutes later, or even that, guy's back here with his 10 som.
It's not a bad idea. See, you learned something too. We could easily do something like that. You know, you can't. Our city is sister cities with Narin.
Biz Great Fall Montana'dan geliyoruz. Ben polisanın ofisörüyüm. Ben bizim şahırlar bölümünün virtual robotiyim.
So we've made a trip over here to meet with the police and see how things are done here and see how we can cooperate and learn from each other, and if there's anything we can do to help you in training or equipment, we can maybe think of some things to work with each other. A place, if they needed help somewhere, do they call right to here, or is there another place that they get called? Well, how do they find out about a problem?
Вот как вы связываетесь, как вы обнаруживаете, что где-то нужна ваша помощь, да? Вам только звонят или если какие-то другие?
Звонок. Bir kameranı koşatma.
He made injuries with knife person. Stabbing, yeah.
And they'll stay here for 2 months before a trial.
И где-то срок выезжаете,
On the invitation of the governor of Narin Province, Jack and Dave offered gifts of financial and material assistance from the city of Great Falls, especially to improve the sanitary conditions in area prisons. For this generosity, our guys are honored for having contributed to human rights in the Kyrgyz Republic.
Биздин нарында адам укугу тебеленип атат. Адамдардын эркиндиги чектелип атат деген. We found as we worked with your local police that we share some of the same problems.
Биз бул шаардын башка жагында турган менен, биз океандын башка жагында турган менен, силерде деле бизге окшогон демек криминалдар көп экен деп ойлойм. Кылмыш көп экен.
Our police work lets us work with people, which is sometimes a joy. And yet sometimes we also realize it brings with it difficulties.
Биздин полициялыктар көбүнчө эл менен чогуу иштегенге аракет кылышат. Ошон үчүн кээ бирде бирок
Matt Bristol and his wife Betty provide legal and health care services in Narin and elsewhere. They exemplify the missionary impulse that motivates some Americans and others to commit themselves to work in Central Asia. These are folks the Montana delegations have learned to listen to, even if we don't always see things in the same light.
Our motivation is to show God's love to the people and to help them in very practical ways through our respective professional skills. And the main thing that they need right now is even more important than money, is experience. They need people to come and share their experience about very basic things like nutrition, how to be a good partner with your doctor to take care of your body, how to conduct a business, how to plan a business, how to write a business plan, how to get along with other people. There's so many areas where they're just crying out for help and experience. In the default setting for the people is corruption, self-interest, sort of survival of the fittest kind of mentality, and that is something that we can avoid. It's always interesting for me to sit at the table with my Kyrgyz friends and with guests from my own country, from America.
Мен бактылымын, что кыргыз достор менен отурам, ошондой эле Америкадан келген достор менен чогуу отурам. Кызык.
Especially when I listen and I learn new things about Kyrgyz traditions, I'm always reminded this is the way it was in my country in the very early years. We were the same. It was. It was just the same. When we were a young country, we had many of the same traditions.
Кыргыздар менен чогуу отурганда мен ушул эски убактарды эстейм Америкада. Ушулар эсиме келет дейт.
But sometimes when you grow and you get more money and sometimes it's easy to forget these really good traditions.
Бирок кээ бир кезде сен өсүп аябай акчалуу болуп бай болгондо сен бат унутасың дейт ошол жакшы нерселерди.
So I think that with Kyrgyzstan, the greatest gift we can give is to share with you, by living with you together, to share so that you don't make many of the same mistakes that we made.
Мен силерге белек, эң чоң белек жүзбер алганды силер менен чогуу жашап, биз уже бай болуп эметип көрүп калдык да. Аны ошол традицияңарды унутпай, жакшы нерсени унутпай эметип чогуу ала жүргөнүңөргө жашайм.
When I hear you talking about the tradition of forgiving other people and this is really the strength of this country. This is a very strong foundation for the country.
Жана союз жөнүндө өзүнүн кошунасы жөнүндө жана башка ал кишилерге кандай жардам беришке ошол жөнүндө ойлойм.
And this is what can be the future of Kyrgyzstan.
Бул Кыргызстандын келечеги да ошондой болушу мүмкүн.
They can follow the same road as Korea, and in just 30 years, Kyrgyzstan can be very strong.
Алар да кореялыктардай болуп, өз жөнүндө гана ойлонбостон башкалар жөнүндө ойлонсо шаар басып турат.
But the key is to take away the corruption.
Бирок ачкыч бул коррупция болбош керек.
And to take the true Kyrgyz traditions.
Негизги Кыргыздын өзүнүн традициясына таянуу.
Like the ashara. Like the cooperation, community working together.
Баары чогулуп бириштип, ашар сыяктуу.
And trusting other people.
Бири-бирине ишенүү.
Keeping your agreements, making contracts and keeping your agreements.
Бири-бириңер менен контракт түзгөндө ошол контрактты кармоо.
And then the economy will be like a bright light. The country will be like a bright light, and money will come from many foreign countries to help. But if the corruption stays, then my grandson can come back here in 100 years. It will be exactly the same.
Эгерде коррупция дагы эле боло берсе, менин неберем бияка 100 жылдан кийин келсе, баягы эле Кыргызстан баягы эле болуп калат.
So what's most important is to change the way we think. The truth is that in America there are many Muslim people, there are many people from other faith traditions.
Америкада дагы мусулмандар бар жана башка диндеги адамдар көп.
All living together in peace.
Баары тең бири-бири менен тынчтыкта жашашат.
And the same can be true in Kyrgyzstan, that Kyrgyzstan's strength is that people from 80 different people groups, different ethnic groups, and many different faith traditions living together in peace. This is the strength, the foundation.
Ошондой болсо жакшы болот дейт. Анткени 80 өлкөдөн 80 представителдер болсо, ошол баары бирге иштесе, бул аябай чоң күч дейт кыргыздар үчүн.
So my toast is for the Kyrgyz people,
кыргыздар үчүн,
for a search for truth,
чындыкты изилдөө,
and for a better future.
Келечектеги сон келечек үчүн.
Since 1997, Jim Carney has been Montana's man on the ground, serving medical missions for the National Guard and helping to build the Farm in the Dell Youth Training Center in Bishkek. Rick Bridwell is Jim's friend and colleague.
He decided right off the bat he was not going to pay any bribes to anyone, because once you do that, the word gets around and you can't do anything without paying more money. And so he just kind of bumped into some expats, expatriates from around the world in America, and got hooked up with some non-governmental organizations around here and got some ideas from them, got some good advice on how to do business in Bishkek. And so kind of had to learn from the very bottom how to do business here before he could even do any construction. Then he had to hire a general contractor who had the license to build here, and had the people, the skill, the artisans, the people to build a building. And so that took a while. And he went through a couple of them and got bids from them and found out that they knew he was an American, so they tripled the price. And so he finally found one that he thought he could work with. So over a year and a half that he's been here, he's still going through that process in one phase or another. It's coming along, but it's slowly. And he helped design the building with Nadia and Lowell to make it handicap access, which is new.
Concept here.
Yeah, they don't do a lot of that. So when the plans were approved to do that, the builders thought it was an obvious mistake. So, when Jim wasn't on the site early enough, then they'd start building something, and Jim would have to say, no, you need to tear that out. It needs to be to this plan. There's a reason for that. So it's just one constant challenge after another he's had to go through.
At the heart of the Montana-Kyrgyzstan relationship is the Farm the Dell Foundation, a charitable organization headed by Lowell Bartels.
Use as a training center, then we will come back and be building a group home, and then we will also be building a large greenhouse. And we're going to try to have a building blitz, and possibly all of us together could be working on this center, the governor and you, and we could all try to build this center. So we could get, all the publicity over there of Kyrgyzstan, that the people know that we have come together not only as nurses, doctors, teachers, and generals and so on, but to build this, and then we'll go. So it's in Russian, of course, but this is the training center that we will be building there. Even though it will not be complete, at the time when we started it, we thought it would be complete, but as I spoke about earlier, but the people aren't moving as fast as we like it because it's not approved yet by the government. That needs to happen through you, the government to government.
Many group homes all over.
The Foundation's goal of achieving better care and independent living for developmentally disabled people is now connected with the efforts of Nadia Semenenko to build a training facility in Bishkek to serve similar aims for the Central Asian region.
Project like this.
Das God bless you.
Lowell started working with Nadia in her first training center, located in a Bishkek basement apartment, where dreams were hatched. At the site of the new center, it takes a leap of faith to believe the buildings will be finished anytime soon. Bricks and mortar are plentiful in Bishkek, but secure contracts and protections for property are not.
This first room is for electric boiler.
Oh, the furnace.
Если у нас будет парник, мы уже говорили.
If they have the greenhouse,
Возможно, будет заказ на выращивание перца круглосуточно.
If they have the greenhouse, they will get the order from the client to grow the bell peppers all year round.
After poking around the construction site, we retreated to the current center, a refuge for Kyrgyz adolescents with various disabilities. The kids have prepared a very special program for us, providing rich evidence of their yearning for a normal life.
There are no words that would express how glad we are to greet you here.
Мы вас ждали,
We
и наконец дождались.
were waiting for you, finally you're here.
И наши дети хотят с вами поздороваться, все вместе.
So, this is greeting to you from their kids.
Чтоб траву, как царь, косой косили, каждый день летали б до луны, чтобы женщин на руках носили, не было болезней и войны, чтобы дружба не была обузой, чтобы верность тягость не была, чтобы старость не тяжелым грузом, мудростью бы на сердце легла.
Вкусный пирог, с малиной пирог, а который без начинки самый вкусный пирог, а который без начинки самый вкусный пирог. Наш центр Ювентус дружбой славится, приходите в гости чаще, если нравится. Приходите в гости чаще, если нравится.
Very good. Okay, now someone help me out.
Goodbye, thank you.
Good night, Nadia.
Bye.
Where is she at? No, she's coming.
At Bishkek Humanities University, Lowell and others from Montana were invited to participate in an international conference and workshop on better integrating handicapped children and teenagers into society.
We are from Montana, which means mountain in the Spanish language.
Мы из штата Монтана. Слово «Монтана» на испанском языке означает «горы».
And here in Bishkek, it is the year of the mountain.
И здесь, в Бишкеке, у вас проходит год гор.
So it is very appropriate, I think, that the Montanans have come to the land of the mountains.
Ladies and gentlemen, what I am going to do is I'm going to attempt to speak Russian. You have been so kind to us this last week, and I'm going to try to speak a few sentences in Russian. And then I will go on in English. So please forgive me for for my mistakes, but I will try.
Ошибки, но я постараюсь.
Уважаемые дамы и господа, коллеги, спасибо за приглашение в вашу страну. Благодарю за возможность высказать перед вами. Вместе с нами I am glad you are our sister country.
Я очень рад, что мы с вами партнеры.
And I pledge you my help.
И я обещаю вам помогать в дальнейшем.
Lowell is keeping his pledge. His fundraising efforts in Montana for a farm in the Dell in Bishkek have been heroic, and they're not over yet. Someday, and we all hope it's soon, Nadia Semenenko and her clients, young and old, will have a safe and productive workshop and instructional center in the heart of Central Asia. In late summer of 2003, the U.S. Defense Department and the Kyrgyz Ministry of Defense paid tribute to the friendship between Montana and Kyrgyzstan by holding official negotiations on a bilateral weapons agreement in the relatively calm and informal atmosphere of the state capital. Montana Adjutant General Gene Prendergast was an official host. He has been elevated to chair the General Officers Steering Committee for the entire state partnership program, involving some 35 pairs of American states and formerly Soviet bloc countries. These proceedings were followed by an even more significant event. In December of 2003, Kyrgyz President Akayev led an official delegation to Helena to meet with Governor Martz and sign an historic Memorandum of Understanding that will formalize the deepening relationship between the Kyrgyz Republic and the state of Montana. So far as we know, this is the first time that a foreign head of state has visited the capital, and the first instance of a state-to-nation agreement in the United States. As such, the memorandum is a triumph of paradiplomacy and a testament to the success of the state partnership program.
О дальнейшем развитии сотрудничества между штатом Монтана, Соединенные Штаты и Кыргызской Республикой.
Signing on behalf of the Republic of Kyrgyzstan.
Со стороны Кыргызстана подписывать будет
Minister of Foreign Affairs
министра иностранных дел
of the Kyrgyz Republic,
Кыргызской Республики,
Askar Айтматов,
господин Аскар Айтматов,
signing on behalf of the United States,
от имени Монтана подписывать меморандум будет
Governor Judy Martz, State of Montana.
губернатор Джуди Мартс, штат Монтана.
Исключительный документ и первый прекрасный документ, который мы подписали на американском континенте.
This document that I have in my hands is of exceptional importance, and it is also the first document we have ever signed in the land of the United States.
Звезду, которая светит и греет душу человека.
And it was a great pleasure for me to find in your governor such a star, which does not only give the light, but also gives the warmth.
И я
Everywhere we go in Kyrgyzstan, we encounter a certain nostalgia for Russian dominance, when material conditions of life were more assured, and the Kyrgyz were afforded a purposeful niche in the political economy of the Soviet Union. The icons and emblems of the Soviet period are a reminder that Kyrgyzstan is situated at the confluence of great power interests in Eurasia. It is today the only country in the world playing host to both American and Russian Air Force bases, and its former association with Persian, Islamic, and Chinese empires places Kyrgyzstan at the nexus of global history. We know that the Soviet period was not all peaches and cream, and the legacy of empire is never wholly positive.
In like a shelter for kids that had been abandoned that had disabilities. And then when the Soviet Union pulled out, they basically took everything, took all the equipment, took all the bedding, all the furniture, and left all these kids alone. And just took off and left. So she said, I couldn't abandon these kids, so she took these 8 kids in and raised them. And lives right outside of Bishkek, and just found out she's going to lose her house. She's going to have to be out by winter. She's been staying someplace they haven't been charging her rent. She's got these 8 kids. They're afraid to come into the city because they get teased and beat up. So she she borrowed 50 som to take the bus into Bishkek to try to find somebody to help her. So I don't know, kind of a heartbreak.
Did you finish something or somebody missed something or they regret something? It's a very common topic, so it's one of
Пройдемте туда, мы небольшой такой.
At the Kyrgyz National Guard headquarters in Bishkek, as guests of Commanding General Chatbayev, we celebrated in the approaching twilight the stirring and heartfelt end of the Cold War.
Thank you for everything you're doing here.
Идет нам помощь.
Thank you for helping us.
И это, я думаю, для будущего Дагестана большое подспорье, большая помощь.
Because I think your help that you're providing right now, it's a great support for our future.
И мне хотелось бы сегодня Рику Бредову вручить нашу
to Rick Bridwell from the head of the National Guard. and he's being this medal is presented to Rick Bridwell. It's an anniversary medal because National Guard had an anniversary this summer. So anniversary of the National Guard of Kyrgyz Republic. Happy to present this medal to you.
We've met many wonderful people here.
Мы встретили очень много замечательных людей здесь.
It's been a real pleasure to be in your beautiful country.
Это было действительно наслаждение находиться в вашей стране.
So to friendship and peace now and in the future.
За дружбу и мир сейчас и в будущем.
Хороший тост.
You know, it just sort of puts the bright spots, doesn't it? Can't imagine he ever did this before. Contemporary citizens of the Kyrgyz Republic are building a multi-ethnic, religiously tolerant society at the crossroads of Eurasian civilizations. The Kyrgyz are attempting to craft a secular state that reflects their Islamic identity and respects other cultural traditions as well. We Montanans want to assist the people of Kyrgyzstan in bolstering elements and institutions of civil society, and by doing so, we help ourselves to become better citizens of the world. There is much that we can learn from each other.
Kyrgyzstan is full of very warm, wonderful people. They have no money, no economy to speak of, but they're trying. It's getting better from the first trip when I came in 1997 until now. There have been major changes. We're sitting in front of a brand new Hyatt hotel, hadn't even thought of in 1997. It's growing. I've met a lot of the younger generation. They're the ones that will make the major changes.
Is there any reason you could convey to the people of Montana why they ought to be interested in a place like this on the other side of the world?
They need help. We've always helped our neighbors. We were raised that way. And there's business opportunity on both sides. I think there's good products manufactured here on a relatively small scale that would sell readily in Montana. There's a lot of products manufactured in Montana or accessible in Montana that would sell well here, as well as the humanitarian aid aspect. It's a viable small economy, and we can enhance that greatly. We can make a difference, a small difference, but we can make a difference.
The Kyrgyz are tuning up for democracy and development. The future is all about water and power, responsible leadership, and the steady build-up of social capital. The next generation will see it through. As we have seen and can surmise, the individuals in Montana and Kyrgyzstan who are participants in the partnership have different motivations for their involvement. What they have in common is a thirst for adventure, a hunger for knowledge, a desire for peace, and a commitment to share their experience and expertise with newfound friends on the opposite side of the world. They also share the sense that in some small but not insignificant way, they are making history. Our story could end abruptly through some unfortunate act of God or jihad, or through a rational reorientation of national policies in both the United States and Kyrgyzstan. But that's not what we hope for. This partnership is only just beginning, and when open minds and kindred spirits meet along this new Silk Road of friendship, commerce, and cultural exchange, the sky's the limit.
Сделай. Раз. Два. Три. Четыре. Пять. Шесть. Семь. Восемь. Девять. Второе. Делай. Раз. Два. Три. Четыре. Пять. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Давай. Раз, два, три, четыре, пять, шесть, семь, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Готово. Давай. Раз, два, три, четыре, пять, шесть, семь. Мне на край. Hold. Check. 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 Go. Wait. Yes. Yes. Yes.